The president needs to choose a side in Egypt. He needs to choose the military, and he needs to speak specifically to the Muslim Brotherhood in condemning the Muslim Brotherhood, explaining why they have no part in the process, because what they believe is not congruent with a free society and certainly a government that will respect the rights of the minorities, be they religious or ethnic or otherwise. Bottom line, he needs to tell the truth about the Muslim Brotherhood, explain to the world that we will no longer tolerate Christians being slaughtered in the Middle East or any other place in the region without speaking up and lending support to those Christians and those people who desire to be free. You see, support can be given in many ways. Natan Sharansky talked about how just hearing a president speak truth to evil, as Reagan did with the evil empire, the former Soviet Union, was a way to advance freedom, to let people know where we stand. One of the things that we could do pretty quickly is to send a strong signal that we're no longer going to tolerate attacks on Americans abroad who are serving in our government and serving in uniform. And we can do that through policies that, number one, identify winning wars instead of ending them, being specific in the goals that we wish to achieve, and expressing that we will only achieve those and we will not be based on a timeline. Because anybody with an IQ above room temperature would realize if you base it on a timeline, they'll wait you out, and the people that sided with you, they'll be slaughtered. Okay? It's not rocket science. Though it is complex at times, it really comes down to this. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. Now, however that sits with you, that's the reality. In order to identify the enemy further is to communicate what we believe versus what the Islamists believe. And to do that, you got to mention Islam, fundamental Islam. And you got to support true moderates, like Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Now, we've just gone from Egypt, supporting the military in Egypt because they represent the secularists and the Christians, versus the Muslim Brotherhood, eradicating the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt and, for that matter, period. Quite frankly, that's inevitably what we're going to have to do anyway. Now you may be asking, Crane, do you want to invade every place? Invade, do nothing, that kind of choice, that option? That's a ridiculous choice, and it's a false one. There are many things in between. And as I just mentioned, part of it is identifying what we believe and contrasting it to what our enemy believes. We're not doing that. We have a modern-day Nazi movement, and we don't have the fortitude to step up and detail and explain what our enemy believes. We're afraid to call acts of terrorism, acts of Islamic terrorism, because we don't want to offend. Listen, there's going to be inevitably a discussion about Islam. But I'll tell you this, if people were going around and blowing themselves up and slaughtering those who didn't agree with them in the most heinous ways, and they did it in the name of Christianity, and they said that Christianity backed them up. Well, Crane, they can't do that because Christianity doesn't back it up. Oh yeah, that's right. All religions are not the same. All religions are not the same. Think about that just for a moment. All religions are not the same. Just like all liquids are not the same. If I drink water, I'll live. If I drink Drano, I'll die. So let's stop playing games. It's interesting that on September 12th we were willing to tell the truth. Why is that? Because we saw the consequences of not telling the truth. Not identifying the enemy and not taking care of business when it came to confronting the enemy. Now, I've spoke of Islam, but we could speak to Russia too. We could speak to North Korea. We need to define what we represent, who we are. Our history does that. And by the way, Mr. President, we're not the great imperial empire building nation. We're the great liberator. And the people who've done that are the men and women in uniform. And yet, we've sent a really strong signal to them, or at least your policy has, because you've talked about timelines, ending wars, not winning wars, and your response to Benghazi is disgusting. Okay, I'm out of time. There'll be more on the show and more through these videos, but tell me what you think. We need to identify what we are, what we believe in, and contrast it to what our enemy believes in. We need to choose sides. You can't vote present, especially when you're the leader of the free world. Thanks.